watch on the environment. Your brain, during light sleep stages, is still filtering sensory input and flagging things that seem unusual or threatening. A twig snapping loudly nearby, the sound of a large animal moving through brush, a change in the air pressure and smell that comes with something large approaching. These things can pull you toward waking faster than you might expect. This is not an accident. The humans in our evolutionary history who slept too deeply, who were completely unresponsive to nighttime threats, were more likely to not wake up at all. The lighter sleepers, the ones who could go from asleep to on their feet in seconds, were the ones who survived and reproduced. Over hundreds of thousands of years, human sleep got tuned to stay light enough to respond to threats. We sleep lighter and in shorter cycles than most large mammals, partly because our evolutionary legacy assumed there would always be things in the dark worth waking up for. So while you feel completely helpless when you're unconscious, you're actually running a fairly sophisticated early warning system. Not perfect, not foolproof, but present. And then there's the group factor. Humans are almost never actually alone when they camp. We travel in groups, sleep in groups, and those groups respond collectively. Predators across the animal kingdom understand group dynamics at a deep level, because their prey animals also form groups. A wildebeest in the middle of a herd is much safer than a wildebeest at the edge. A fish in the center of a school is much harder to target than one that's been separated. Predators don't just attack prey, they hunt for separation. They look for the isolated individual, the one that's fallen behind, the one that's been cut off from the group. A camp full of sleeping humans is a group. And not just any group. A group that, when one member wakes up and makes noise, will likely wake up the others. That collective response is deeply unappealing to a predator trying to make a clean, low-risk kill. The risk of a hunt going wrong, of turning into a chaotic group defense situation, is exactly the kind of thing predators are evolved to avoid. Now, let's be honest about something, because this video would be irresponsible if it wasn't. None of this means you're untouchable. The attacks that do happen, and they do happen, follow a consistent pattern. They almost always involve circumstances that have broken the normal rules, a predator that's injured and can't hunt its normal prey. A predator that's starving because its habitat has been destroyed and its usual food sources are gone. A predator that's had so much contact with humans that it's lost its inherited wariness. This happens disturbingly fast when animals are fed by tourists or come to associate human presence with food rather than danger. Or a predator that's simply old and desperate, past its physical prime, unable to catch the prey it used to hunt. The lions of Tsavo in Kenya are the most famous example. In 1898, 2 male lions attacked and killed somewhere between 35 and 135 railway workers over about 9 months. The historical records disagree on the number, and the legend grew in the retelling. But what's often left out is that these were unusual lions. Both were maneless, which is atypical. One had severe dental damage that likely made its normal prey much harder to hunt. These weren't representative of lion behavior. They were exceptions created by exceptional circumstances. The Champawat tiger, responsible for an estimated 436 deaths in India and Nepal in the early 1900s, was later found by the hunter Jim Corbett to have been shot in the mouth at some earlier point, shattering 2 of its canine teeth. It could no longer hunt its natural prey effectively. It had been pushed, by injury and then by habitat encroachment, into hunting the only prey that was consistently available and physically manageable. The pattern repeats across almost every documented case of large predator attacks on humans in camp or at rest. Something broke. The normal calculation changed. The inherited caution got overridden by desperation, which means the rule holds almost universally in conditions where the ecosystem is intact, the predator is healthy, and the humans haven't done something to scramble the normal signals, like leaving food out, approaching wildlife, or eliminating the campfire because it seemed unnecessary. There's one last layer to this that I saved for the end because it's genuinely the most mind-bending part of the whole thing. We have been so effective at making the natural world afraid of us that it's now causing problems we didn't anticipate. That same 2019 UC Santa Cruz study didn't just document that pumas are afraid of humans. It documented that this fear cascades through the entire food web in ways that are difficult to fully control. When pumas avoid areas where humans are active, the deer in those areas face reduced predation pressure. Deer populations in those zones increase. That increased deer population overgrazes vegetation. Meanwhile, medium-sized predators, coyotes, bobcats, foxes, also reduce their presence near humans, which means the rodent populations they normally control start expanding. Everything shifts. And it shifts because of us, because of our presence, because the fear we've generated over millennia radiates outward through the ecosystem like a signal. We change the behavior of every predator layer on the continent without ever directly interacting with most of those animals. Just by being there. Just by being the thing that evolution told them to be afraid of. One species. One inherited fear. ripples across the entire living world. The most dangerous animal on the planet is the one that figured out fire before it figured out everything else. The one that's been shaping ecosystems not just through what it eats, but through what it makes other things afraid to eat. The one that sleeps light, travels in groups, and carries 10,000 generations of successful survival in its DNA. That's you. That's what you are. So yeah, next time you're lying in a tent in the middle of nowhere, listening to the sounds of the dark beyond the nylon wall, and you feel that little pulse of ancient anxiety, that's fine. That feeling kept your ancestors alive. But the thing outside the tent, it's not coming in. It knows better.